with MondoMarketTV.com, and we are ready for another amazing Tuesday with some amazing artists that I have just beside me. Before we actually go to the interview, don't forget that you can share with friends that you know are interested in fiber. We will be talking about fiber today a lot. And share with your friends, leave your comments. If you click on the video, you can actually comment, send hearts, send likes, and all this. We love to get those. It's really fun when that happens. With that said, I'm here with David and Rebecca Keller from Sugar House Woolworks. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good? Good.
Yeah.
Hey, David, the reason we do these interviews is actually that people get to know you a little bit better, you know, and know about your day-to-day as an artist and why do you do this. And as many of you know, Mondo Market TV is the little sister of CuriousMondo.com, and Dave Keller is an instructor here. He has given several courses in the past, and he's coming up with a new one on spinning for color, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But how did you get started with fiber?
With fiber, specifically with fiber, it was 6 or 7 years ago now.
7.
Yeah.
7 years.
I decided I couldn't find a job, and I'm disabled, so it's hard for me to keep a job, a normal one where I have hours, because if I need to take 2 weeks off for health reasons, most employers are going to say no, we're not going to do that. And so I decided to start a dye shop based on an intellectual idea, and it's actually here on the table.
Oh, really?
This is the piece that started
everything.
Started everything.
And you guys started together?
Yeah.
We did start together.
So you came to Rebecca one day and said, "Well, this job thing is not going to work anyway. Here's an idea."
I don't remember.
Yeah. He came to me with an idea and said, "I've got this idea. I want to dye yarn." And I'm like, "Okay, well, a lot of people dye yarn. What makes yours so different?" He actually explained to me the socks 3D, where you can make it, instead of just it being a striping effect his idea, you can do a lot more three-dimensional, a lot more designs.
You can have a lot more control in the design.
A lot more control in the design. And I thought about it and looked at it, and I thought, yeah, I do think that is a unique idea.
So we can make money with that.
So we
That's
thought
how
we
it started.
might be able to make money with that.
So tell me about this idea.
So we call it Socks 3D. It's a three-dimensional sock blank. And I first saw sock blanks
Tell me what blank is.
So a blank is just a piece of knitted fabric that's done on a machine that you dye. And so this one is done in a tube. And most blanks are flat. They're not done in the round. And so when you do it in the round, and there are a bunch of rules that I've discovered dyeing and screwing up and dyeing more and screwing more stuff up that you kind of have to follow to get images to pop out. There's another dyer right now that is doing this type of work, and I don't know if she's doing it on a blank or if there's a mathematical formula that she's come up with and she's printing them. I'm not sure, but in order for those images to pop out, they're 2 or 3 stitches wide, some of the images on hers, which means your gauge has to be exactly perfect. If you're off more than 1% on your gauge, the little figure, instead of being straight up and down, is slanted.
Twist.
So
there's no room for errors there.
There's no room for errors. But with this, I specifically built that limitation into the yarn. And so this one is a bonsai tree. And so it looks straight and ugly right now, but as you knit it up, it creates a bonsai tree.
Can I touch that?
Yeah.
So I can see the tree is forming here, right?
Yeah. So
I'm going to put here just so maybe you can see. So you have the earth here, the dirt, right?
Yep.
And
grass
then the trunk,
and the trunk of the tree and the sky and you manipulate the tree with your gauge, with your needles. And so it takes 2 or 3 sets of needles to make that hat.
So does it have anything to do with color pooling? Is this the same thing, or is
it's a form of color pooling? Yeah. but you specifically build the color pooling into the yarn before you even start. It's not discovering what the pooling pattern is.
Okay.
Like with what Kim did with her class. You know, with those variegated yarns that people are doing those color pooling projects with. You have to discover what the pooling segment, how many stitches it takes to get that pooling segment to pop out.
So how many tests did you have to do before you had the one that did work the first time? A lot?
I don't know.
You were just thinking, what am I going to do with all these blanks here?
At least 20.
Really? And then you got it right.
And then I yeah, because I mean, if you violate one of the rules that I discovered in making these blanks, it may or may not break the project. So you know, one of the rules is you don't really want to shift your stitches on the blank, the stitch count, by more than 4 per row.
Okay.
If you do, you end up with things moving too drastically, too quickly, and if you shift things over too much, you'll completely skip the pooling altogether.
Wow.
And so, yeah, you've got to pay attention to what you're doing when you're using it. And a lot of people are really scared of that yarn. They see it, they're like, that is way too complicated for me. So, but it's really easy. I mean, all you have to do is say, okay, I want it to go left, and so you switch your, the next needle you switch out for, for a smaller needle size. If you wanted to shift left,
to shift left, and then you could, because the stitches will be smaller.
Stitches are smaller. The yardage goes farther.
So you try at least 20 times. You know, Rebecca, this is interesting because this morning I was having a conversation with Nashla, and you guys know that Nashla is my daughter and my partner. And we were talking about defeat, because there is a new TV commercial out there with electrolyte juice that is all about that. They have all these very famous people talking, do you want to know what success means? Do you want to know? And then they talk about their biggest defeat, their biggest failure. And we all have those, right? But the secret to success is go over those failures. So, if you ask what was your biggest defeat, it's on top of my mind. Doesn't matter how many years ago that was. And I bet it happens to everybody.
In what we do, this is our biggest defeat, this yarn right here.
Why?
The one that started it all.
Really?
Because people are scared of it.
Well, it's taken 7 years to even just get to this point.
Well,
so it's been a lot
I had a working model for just regular stripes, no patterning like this, the first year that I had it up, and people were terrified of that yarn.
Really?
And I have a version of it that stripes will go through a gusset on a sock. So as you knit up through the sock, when you hit the gauge changes where you're starting to add stitches for your gusset, the yarn accommodates that extra yardage you need. For the gusset, and the stripes continue. They wobble quite a bit through the gusset, but the pooling stays true.
That's cool. Yeah. So you did go through a lot of frustration in the process.
Oh yeah.
But how did this idea became then? Because now you dye yarn and fiber for a multitude of possible projects, right? So what happened there?
Well, I always was dyeing, kettle dyeing fiber and yarn and space dyeing and doing semi-solids. That hadn't really changed, but the one project that sold her on getting the dye shop started was this project, and it's been the biggest failure for the dye shop
for the 7 years. But
which is I mean, and that it was a little bit, I think, before its time. This type of yarn. I was at Stitches West this year, and was walking around and someone stole that hat. I'm so mad. I was walking around knitting this it was the baby bonsai version of this.
Okay.
So it was the little itty bitty one for basically a newborn. And people saw that as I was walking around knitting on it. And where did you get that yarn? That is really cool. I've never seen anything like that. Can I buy that right now? And at the time, I didn't have that anywhere near back to where I wanted for production. And so, but if I go back to Stitches West next year,
you will have the pattern for that.
I'll have everything set up for it and a bunch of it with me. But yeah, it's gotten to the point now where people are a little bit less scared of it than they were before. So,
and for your business, of course, you sell online, and you sell in a lot of fairs and trade shows, especially during summer, right? How many shows do you guys do a year?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, and that's enough?
No, not even close. I haven't had the health over the last few years to be able to consistently.
To go to all of them.
We're working on increasing that though.
So like, and right now it's just a matter of finding the right medication dosage and combination.
Keep you going.
So, I mean, like without Rebecca, the dye shop wouldn't exist.
So I know he does.
Even though I do, about 90% of the dye work.
What do you do in the company?
I do a lot of the accounting. In fact, I think I do 100% of all of the accounting.
At least 95%,
yeah.
Yeah. You're the left brain of the society.
I'm the left brain of it. I do the accounting, the taxes. I set his appointments, set his reminders, be like, hey, what time are we supposed to be there? I don't know, we've got this coming up. Try and be his motivator. I don't do as much in the dye shop. I do love playing with color, but I definitely think that David's a lot more creative than I am. But I'm kind of the push behind it that gets things moving. Sometimes I come up with a few new ideas. It was my idea to try to dye sweaters, which we're still working the kinks out, but to get recycled secondhand sweaters
and then have finished pieces.
Finished pieces.
Yeah.
And then because you can do a whole different type of pattern on that. And we've kind of just been filling in the blanks because we do some scarves and the socks and these blanks, and then of course all of the regular fiber. And
do you enjoy the fairs and trade shows?
I do. I really do. I really do. I love getting out there and seeing what everyone else does, and then being like, I'm inspired. I'm so happy about this.
Yeah, me too.
Look what I did. It's really great, and I love interacting with all of the people, and so I go out and support them in those ways too. That's
cool. David, I know one unique thing about you is that you go in depth when it comes to knowledge, because really a lot of people can dye. That doesn't mean that they understand the process as you do. So are you passionate for research, or tell me that other side?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a chemist by trade.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of. Depends on your viewpoint. I'm 2 semesters away from finishing a chemistry degree.
Okay.
And my health has just been so awful that finishing a degree has not been possible.
A priority.
So but like research, learning, coming up with new ideas. An idea that I came up with that isn't related to fiber got pitched to the New Zealand government last week, and they're considering it. And if they accept the proposal, at least for a formal presentation, I'll be flying to New Zealand.
I can go too.
I know, right?
So yeah, who doesn't want to go there?
But yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like I have a whole lot of strengths because I have a tremendous amount of weaknesses. I'm inherently lazy and I'm constantly sick. So, but one thing I'm really good at is ideas and troubleshooting ideas and coming up with unique solutions for other people. But I'm horrible at it for myself. Terrible.
But you like to problem solve.
I love to problem solve.
Not your problems, but anyway, that's just like me.
And coming up with new ideas. So like the semi-solid yarn, or sorry, the semi-solid fiber that I taught in my last dye class, where it's the tonal, the 2-toned semi-solid, came out of, I don't know, 5 or 6 different thought experiments of what would happen if you started layering these types of colors in these ways. And
then you go and try. And in the process, there are tons of failures. Or not, you get it the first time.
Well, that one I got the first time.
Oh, good.
The problem with it is you have to be so precise. And I'm not a precise dyer as a general rule.
But she is. You like the preciseness of numbers and everything, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a microbiologist by trade.
Oh, really? So that's cool.
I like the precision. I also like the problem solving and the let's get it all written down. standardized.
Yeah, I mean, on this type of stuff, I have to be fairly precise. But that particular semi-solid is the hardest thing for me to dye because you have to be perfect on the staple length within a quarter inch, and if you're off more than a quarter inch, it's no longer a semi-solid anymore. It doesn't behave that way, and there are ways you can alleviate that with spinning, and we're going to be talking about that in the spinning class.
So your next class is spinning for color. Do you want to cover a little bit what you're going to be doing in that course?
Yeah, we're going to do quite a bit with Rolags. We're going to make some with the hand garters and blending boards. We're going to be using some wool, silk, nylon, make it super sparkly, all kinds of fun.
And this cool thing here, what is that?
Yeah, so this is a project, it's kind of an incomplete project at this point. It's almost gotten to the point where we've got it where we want it. But it's a project my brother and I are doing.
Oh, yeah?
So my brother...
And he's here in the studio, but he's in the background.
He is. So my brother's actually a fairly accomplished wood turner.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we got the idea, hey, let's start making Russian spindles and drop spindles. And the Russian spindles are kind of right now where we want them. I don't know, it took, 25 spindles to get
just 25? That's not bad.
To get the spindles to the point where, I mean, it's like...
It has everything it needs to have.
So great.
What are you looking for when you look at a spindle? Because every time I see one, I see... something round, something to put the yarn. I'm not a spindler, by the way, or a spinner. But
you want a reasonably long spin time. You want it to be balanced. When it's spinning, you don't want it to wobble. So a lot of spindles will do this motion when you're using them, and you want it to have about that much play. And so the ratio between the size of the whorl and the length of the spindle and the diameter of the wood of the spindle are all important. And I haven't tested this, what I'm about to say, so I'm not positive that this is how it works. But in fireworks, okay, so my brother that makes the spindle, he's sitting over there, Michael. We have another younger brother, sorry. His name is Spencer. He makes fireworks.
Fireworks, like 4th of July fireworks?
Yeah,
wow.
Like big fireworks, like 4 to 6 inch shells and big spectacular stuff. And in making fireworks, the stability of a rocket is determined by the surface area of the stick that it's underneath it.
Wow.
And so if you have a stick that's really long but super skinny, the rocket will veer off and potentially hit the house. If the stick is really thick, a large surface diameter, a large surface area on the stick, the rocket is more stable.
Okay.
Right? So I want to test it, but I'm pretty confident that same rule applies here with the stability. Which would mean that if your spindle length is too short, it'll wobble a lot.
A lot.
If you're using a shaft that is too small in diameter with a smaller surface area, it'll wobble a lot. And I'd like to test that. But yeah, if the spindle length is not long enough, or if it's too long, it'll also wobble. And so yeah.
So we may be in the presence of the perfect spindle.
No.
No?
No.
Not
Right
yet.
now.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
But
yet.
soon.
The whorl on that is really fantastic, though. It's what we haven't quite figured out is the length of the shaft of the spindle, and then the hook. So I'm shifting in and out hooks on that to try and find one that really works the way that I want it to.
And just for people that are watching, we use the spindles to create our own yarn, right?
Yeah.
And how long does it take for me to make the same that I would buy in one skein?
How big of a skein are we talking about?
That I could buy commercially.
If you go to like a knit shop and you want, say, a 4-ply sock yarn,
Okay.
You're looking at anywhere between 15 and 40 hours.
And why people rather do that way than go to the shop and buy something?
Well, because that's my zen.
It's relaxing.
Like
It's relaxing.
you know, I have severe depression problems, like really bad. And spinning is one of the few things that really helps with centering me and helping with my mental health. And so, you know, that's why. And I can do things with the spindle that you cannot get commercially.
Really?
I do a lot of
and
things.
I think
I do a lot of things with spinning that you can't do commercially.
yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people that love this is exactly because it becomes something that is unique to you most of all.
Yeah, and I want to point something out. Do you notice the crazy wood grain on
it's
that?
It's beautiful.
It's gray elm.
Oh, really?
So you know, if you're old enough and been in the United States for through the 90s, there was the Dutch crap. What was the name of that beetle? It caused Dutch elm disease. Dutch elm disease.
Huh.
I don't remember the name of the beetle, but it wiped out about 95% of all the elm trees in the country.
Really?
Just completely cleared them out. The remainder of the trees that are currently living are pretty much resistant to that beetle, and you know, 25 years later, they've managed. Those surviving trees have managed to produce enough seedlings, and they've grown up, and they've been able to start harvesting more elm again because of the.
That's cool, and it's a beautiful wood. That's for sure.
It's gorgeous.
I
it's
do
like
some
feathers.
Carving, so I'm always interested in different types of wood.
Yeah, and it turns awful.
Really?
It is awful to turn.
Oh boy, it's very hard.
It's
it's not good for carving either.
I don't even try it, but it's really porous, and it's not a really dense hardwood. It's one of the softer hardwoods, and so.
So why did you guys choose this wood to make spindle?
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, that's it. Cool.
It's gorgeous.
Guys, thank you so much. Any final advice for people interested in fibers out there that you can give, or even for people that are, you know, so many people are in the same situation that they see at this moment they are unemployable for whatever reason, and then they always have that fear to go on their own because, of course, there are tons of insecurities and there is not stability. But what's your take on that?
Be prepared to work hard. Be prepared to struggle, and find your voice. You know, don't sit there and copy other people or say I want to make that yarn because I really liked that yarn. Well, you know, you're going against an established dyer. They have fans who already know that yarn. Why would they buy yours? And so, finding your voice, learning technique, finding which ones work best for you, and being prepared to just dig in and do it. It's persistence persistence wins the game here, as well as having something unique. If you're not unique, you know, why would anyone pay attention to you in this type of an industry? It's not just enough to be competent. You have to be
to find your own voice in whatever you're doing.
And you have to speak to that person, that your customer that you're working with.
That's true. You gotta like to talk to people. Right?
No, I'm talking about like what you do has to speak to them.
Yes.
You have to emotionally connect with every single person that you deal with. It's so hard for me.
I would say one of the biggest things is that it's really only a failure if you give up. If it doesn't work the first time, go about it from a different angle. You know, shake things up, look at it from a different way, and continue to keep trying. You're only really done when you say you're done.
That's good.
When you're willing to give up on that effort, so just keep going.
Very good advice. We only have lights in the studio because one person tried 4,000 times until got it right. So persistence is really crucial. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
We had a conversation today here on Facebook with Dave and Rebecca Keller for Sugar House Woodworks. You need to check David's courses at curiousmondo.com. You're going to be amazed with the amount of knowledge this guy has and how easy he makes everything for people that are interested either in dyeing or in spinning. He has a lot of knowledge on spinning as well. So don't forget to check those. And next Tuesday, we will be back with another interview. I hope you like. I hope you share. Don't forget to give us some hearts out there, and I'll see you next time.